So as requested, I'm detailing how the end trigger for the swoop race stuff works. So whenever we finish the swoop race, it plops us on top of this trigger that causes this script right here to run called post swoop. And so what that one's going to do is it's going to check if we just did a swoop race, Taris swoop run. That means like this one is set to true whenever you're in the process of doing a swoop race. And so like whenever you start the race initially, this is like set to true, so things are currently racing. And what it does after that is it sets it to false, and it's going to then get the number of minutes from your run, the number of seconds from your run, and the number of milliseconds from your run. And then it's going to get the number of minutes in the goal time, the seconds of the goal time, and the milliseconds in the goal time. So that's like the time you have to beat, right? It's going to convert those to milliseconds to compare them. If you beat the goal, it's going to set your status to 2. That means that you just won. And then it's going to set a new goal. Set new goal, all that does is just grabs the time and subtracts 250 milliseconds from it. And it sets a new goal time, and then it's going to save it for a conversation with the authority mechanic. And yeah, after that, it's going, if you didn't beat the goal, it's going to set your status to 1, which means you failed. It's going to speed up your swoop bike. If your swoop bike gets too fast and you lost the race, it blows up. And then it's going to start the Authorian conversation, which that's just going to talk to the mechanic. So here's the mechanic's conversation over here. What it's going to do is, well, basically you kind of have your thing where you run up, and depending on your swoop status, you either pump your fist in the air or you do nothing. And yeah, then it's going to, what it does is it checks race over. So all it does for that is it says, did you either win or lose a race? Because if swoop status is 0 means no race has been done, but if swoop status of 1 or 2 means that basically, you just did a race. And so they're like, awesome. So if that's the case, you will get this conversation chain in here. And so there's 2 different things that can happen here. So there's the conditional here, swoop 1 win. So this is the one it checks first. So first it checks to see if you've done fewer than 2 swoop races and your swoop status is 2, which means you just won, and you have not yet had the swoop double, which is basically saying this conversation hasn't happened yet, it will run this conversation over. It says, you did this, you got the top time, you beat racers, been doing this for 20 years, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. And what that does is it runs this function called swoop dub, and that's going to set Taris swoop double to 2, to 1, which, I mean, basically means you're getting ready to do the double. So I guess this is kind of miscommented. But anyway, and it's going to go through, and then Anglue will beat you and all that kind of stuff. And because we conclude this conversation early, we don't get to the end dialogue thing, which runs swoop new, which that's going to set our swoop status back to 0 again. So our swoop status is still 2 at this point. So anyways, the second thing it checks is this swoop 3 win thing right here, which since swoop double is 1 now, that means swoop 1 win will fail, so it's going to go to the next one. Which this done is it just checks to see if your swoop status is 2, which means you won a race, which of course, if we did the AMG, we have. Which is going to go in there, it's like, you did in 20 years, never seen anybody handle a swoop like that, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it's going to go through all of this, and yeah, there's a few other things to note. Right, we already did race over. Also, whenever we get to the very end of this dialogue, it does post-race. All that does is it's going to set this boolean right here, tear swoop race, to be 1. And then it's going to create Brejik, wake up Bastila, make his bodyguard, start the end conversation. And just for the sake of completion, I also pulled Candaris' spawn script. So it gets the player entering the object. If it is the player that is entered, and Candaris has been spawned already, and this function, this global tear swoop race is true, which that's the one we were just talking about, where this one right here is set to 1. Yeah, so it's checking to see that this is 1. If all of those have been met, then Candaris spawns, which lets us get off of Taris. So yeah, that's what happens. I will zip up all these files and send them over for you, because I'm sure, well, you're probably not interested, but I think Warwolf might be interested if he's watching this. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's what happens. Not sure if there's any other questions you have.